is here, Peter Schrager is here, Kyle Brandt is here, and Ian Rappaport is here, and that's where we start our show, getting all of the headlines. Weekend full of action, of course, playoff games to dig into. But Ian Sider, let's talk Jets. They hired Robert Saleh to be their new head coach. How did it go down? And tell us everything we need to know.
Well, clearly Robert Saleh was the focus for the New York Jets really from the beginning. Went in, had a Zoom interview to start off, and then you can always tell which candidate is the favorite for a team by who they bring in first. The Jets wanted very badly to bring Robert Saleh in first, thought they might lock him in, seal the deal when he was visiting, but instead he continued his trip, actually traveled to Florida to go meet with the Philadelphia Eagles, and they kind of kept it open. The Jets met with Arthur Smith, but really this was about, for the organization, finding a leader, someone who could change the culture of their franchise, someone who also is a very, very good coach, obviously one of the best defensive minds out there. In the end, Robert Saleh ends up with a 5-year deal for the New York Jets. Mike LaFleur, the pass game coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers, his likely choice as the offensive coordinator, though they still got to go through the interview process. Meanwhile, for the San Francisco 49ers, D'Amico Ryans, linebackers coach, expected to step in for Saleh as the DC there. Either way, for the Jets, Joe Douglas set out on a wide search, wanted to find the best person, the best CEO for their organization, and they firmly believe they found it in Robert Saleh.
And I will say, you know, we're waking up here on the East Coast. I know you're here as well, Ian. Seems like New Yorkers, the publications, the bloggers, the tweets, the fans all seem pretty excited and enthusiastic about this hire in Robert Saleh. So we'll get back to you in a little bit with more details on everything going on around the league. Ian, you're the best, guys. What do you make of the Jets grabbing and getting this done? Robert Saleh is the new head coach.
Yeah, let me go into a little more depth here off of Ian's report. Yeah. So Saleh left that Jets interview yesterday, and I could tell you after texting with him, he was like, I want the Jets job. He wanted the Jets job. This is the job I want. But the Jets had to finish the process out, and their process was laid out days beforehand. We were going to meet with 2 finalists, Robert Saleh and Arthur Smith. There were reports that they had multiple finalists coming in. It was never multiple people. It was 2 guys. It was down to 2. And when Doug Peterson got fired, a lot of people thought that Joe Douglas would then say, let's get Peterson to the front of the line. They worked together in Philadelphia. They had put too much work into the process and had narrowed it down that it was down to these guys. So Saleh goes down to Florida, interviews with the Eagles. And then the Chargers call Saleh, and they're like, we want to meet with you again. Now the Jets are thinking, okay, we might have to get this thing done. Once the Chargers stuff happening and they met with Arthur Smith, they were like, let's put ink to paper. Let's get this thing done. Saleh was ecstatic. He wanted to be the Jets coach. He connected so well with not only Joe Douglas, but Christopher Johnson, the owner, and then Jaime Elhai, who's the president. And together, they all felt like this was a connection that could be leadership for the Jets for the future. As for New York, Joe Douglas does deserve a lot of credit here, because it would have been easier just to say, all right, I know Doug Peterson, I know Wink Martindale, we work together in Baltimore, let me just hire a friend. He had never met Saleh, ever, until Friday. And here we are, 1 week later, after a Zoom interview and an in-person meeting, and he's like, I'm going to put my name and 5 years and a lot of $1 million into this man, someone who I have no relationship with prior than a week ago. Saleh comes in here, and his story's going to resonate. Son of a construction worker, first generation Lebanese American, tough dude, family guy. Don't be fooled by all that screaming and all the pump-up stuff you see on the sideline. An intellect. It's his calm that players really respond to. He connects with them on that way. Intellect led the way on this one. And the last point, because Ian mentioned Mike LaFleur, who most likely will be coming, and that's Matt LaFleur's little brother. He's 34 years old. He was with Saleh in San Francisco. Sam Darnold's an interesting piece to this as well. And from what I gather, and this doesn't necessarily stay stagnant, fixed in time, but Sam Darnold has a significant chance of being on that Jets roster moving forward, or at least has an opportunity to still be on that Jets roster. When, if maybe another coach, or if it was the first overall pick, it might have been a different story. But the belief is the Shanahan system can get the most out of a quarterback, and if Sam Darnold is a capable quarterback, he might have a shot to stay on. Last thing, the 49ers, they're the first team to lose an assistant coach to another team who is a minority hire. With the new rules that Troy Vincent put in, the 49ers will get 2 third-round picks, additionally, from the league.
Oh.
And that is something to encourage having a pipeline of assistant coaches of color, minorities, that maybe the team's poach, you get rewarded for it in some way. So the Jets get their guy. The Niners, they promote D'Amico Ryans, as Ian said, and then
wow.
the Niners also get 2 additional third-round picks, one this year and one next year.
Wow. I'm glad you brought up Joe Douglas because oftentimes in situations like this, people can become partial to who they know. And through 6 degrees of separation, they end up hiring a familiar face. We call that the buddy system in the NFL. It's been happening for a century now. But I also feel like, you have to give them credit. And also, the credit that Robert Saleh has been getting from his players is almost the ringing endorsement that you want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
You can read the papers, you can listen to coaches, but guys like Richard Sherman, I mean, here it is right here. The New York Jets got a great one. Congrats to him. But even Richard Sherman during the season, the stuff he would say about Robert Saleh, he would say, this guy doesn't get enough credit for what we're doing. With the amount of players that we lost, the guys that ended up on IR, we never make excuses. Never make excuses. How often have we looked at this Jets team and heard excuses coming from players, coming from coaches, coming from the front office, coming from the fan base? I don't believe he's going to be that guy coming in. Forget about those excuses. Don't tell me about the storm. Bring the boat in. That's what Robert Saleh is going to do. And he is an intellect. You see the images of him on the sideline, and he has that focus and that snare, and he's out there very intense. No, but he is one of the most intellectual, high IQ coaches out there, which is the reason why he got the job. And the last thing I'll say, it's great that he is a minority. It's great that, his ethnicity can match the diversity of New York and New Jersey. I mean, that's also a great thing. Oftentimes, the faces that we see in situations like this, let's call it what it is. It's a Caucasian man that's been in the system for a long time, and that's what it is. But now you're seeing more coaches getting opportunities. So the fact that he has all these things, plus when guys look in the mirror, when women look in the mirror that represent this New Jersey, New York area, it is a little bit different than your traditional white guy who's been a coach or an assistant coach for the last 15 years. This is a great hire for the Jets, but this is just getting started. We could say good job to the Jets. But Robert Saleh, you're going to have to come in and win some games.
And just what a jolt of energy. What a lightning bolt. If you are a Jets fan today is a cool day to be a Jets fan. When do we say that? It is a cool, fun day to be a Jets fan who have not had a lot of them. We've got a decade of no playoff games. We got mono jokes about the franchise quarterback, Le'Veon Bell bowling. Even this year, they win a game and get creamed for it. Even their good days were bad days. And the last time we went through this, we got a new head coach, New York Jets. 10 seconds into the press conference, he's a meme, he's a joke, it's crazy-eyed Gase, everyone's already making fun of you. No. You got the crazy guy this time, but you got the maniac who's been to the Super Bowl, who's the son of a construction worker, who's shredded out of his mind, who's young, who's aggressive. This is a great day for the Jets. I feel like they won. This was the Jets. And you know what? The draft pick, maybe things work out like they're supposed to. Maybe that wasn't the biggest tragedy ever. I say S-A-L-E-H, Jets. Yeah. Big day for the Jets.
I'm not saying really anything negative, are you?
No, it's exciting.
I was waiting to hear I want a guy with head coaching experience, guy. So I could say Flores, Shanahan, McVay, the other list of Reich, Flores down in Miami. They all have done it as first-time head coaches and flourishing in recent years. Let's bring in Ian Rappaport yet again. Ian, I would love a couple of things from you. Thank you for being here with us all morning long with all of this news. What's the update on Arthur Smith, and can you catch us up on how the Urban Meyer deal is coming along?
Now, let's start with the Arthur Smith situation, which really could break, it seemed, at any point this morning. All eyes are focused on the Atlanta Falcons. Now, Arthur Smith, from what I understand, was the top choice of the Falcons really all along. I mean, they brought him in for a second interview. He took some other trips, but this really was the guy that they appeared focused on. And he had a visit set with the Detroit Lions this morning. That visit is now off. The Atlanta Falcons have been in discussions with Arthur Smith since late last night. It seems like this is something that could go down this morning, with Arthur Smith ending up as the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. Obviously, we will be monitoring that very closely. As far as the Urban Meyer situation, he is now a done deal, finally in Jacksonville. The belle of the ball here for coaches, the guy who I think so many people were focused on, certainly the owners for the Jacksonville Jaguars, Shad Khan and Tony Khan. They knew ever since they fired Doug Marrone this was going to be their guy. They brought him on the yacht. They had a great meeting on the yacht, met with him again yesterday, and he landed in Jacksonville finally mid-afternoon to a Jaguars welcome mat. The deal wasn't done yet. but he walked onto a welcome mat. And then a couple hours later, the deal got done. Shad Khan called it a great day for Jacksonville, one of the most successful head coaches on the college level, now heads to the NFL to tackle that challenge.
Appreciate the updates there. Ian will have you with us. He's, of course, never coached in the NFL on any level, not as an intern, not as a scout, not as an anything concerned. If that's going to be a legit concern of Jags fans going forward, we appreciate you. And the Jags social media posted this photo of their big screen saying, hey, Urban Meyer is already lighting up the scoreboard. They seem excited. Kyle, are you excited?
Very excited. I have to be honest, today is the day of predictions in the NFL. I'm going to predict today that next year the Jacksonville Jaguars will have a winning record.
Yeah.
I believe this is what Urban Meyer does. This is what he does. This is a guy who went to Bowling Green in the MAC and gave them one of the greatest turnarounds, fastest turnarounds ever. And then he goes to Utah, shows up, immediately coach of the year, has one of their greatest seasons ever, produces a #1 overall draft pick who's going to win comeback player of the year this year. And then he goes to Florida. 2 national championships, guys, with Tim Tebow at quarterback, who proved to have a lot of limitations. And he's like, I haven't wrecked the Big Ten yet. I'll show up. Immediately kills it. There he is with Zeke. National championship with Cardale Jones, who also had huge limitations. This guy shows up, wreck shops, and then he leaves. So Jacksonville, I can't promise this is going to be prosperity for the next 10 years, but I will be willing to bet he shows up in Jacksonville and shakes things up and wins next year, and he is the #1 pick. Wow.
Immediately, there's a championship air in the building. As soon as he walks in, guys are going to respect that, because that's exactly what he reflects. He reflects winning on a different level, of course. But I said it yesterday, and I'll say it again. College coaches coming in, especially the successful ones, you're going to have to do even better job to motivate these guys that are sitting back in that meeting room. That first time he talks to the squad, I don't care if he has championship rings and he's celebrating and telling everybody his resume, he's going to have to convince these men that what he did on the college level, teaching kids the game, because these are kids who are in college, and working for their scholarship and swipes at the cafe, that we can do this on this level where we're millionaires, grown men with jobs. So the criticism will come, but I do love this hire. The energy for the Jets and the Jags, all of a sudden different, just like that.
Kay, you make a great point about Urban having no experience in the NFL. Was never an intern, was never a ball boy, was never a quality control coach. So who is he bringing with him? I'll say this,